Hey there, my name is Michael Nguyen, founder of asiansuccessmagazine.com, where successful Asian entrepreneurs uh, share how they build a business and achieve success. Today, I'm proud to introduce a man who co-founded his first company with only 4,200 initial investment to operate a neighborhood pool hall while attending full-time college and having a full-time job. And currently, he's a president and chief executive officer of Genghis Grill. It was all started back in 2002 when he and his team opened their first store as a franchisee operator. And 2 years later, he purchased the right to the parent company and became the franchisor of Genghis Grill. And they have an amazing growth of 1,600% from 6 locations in 2004 to 103 locations in 24 states in 2012. Um, in addition, Al and his company have been featured in many magazines from Inc. 5000 to Entrepreneur Magazine Franchise 500 list, and he himself is in the top 10 CEO to watch in Nation Restaurant News. And that man is Al Bhakta. Well, big welcome, Al. Great to have you here. Um, Let me start up by asking you how Genghis Grill is doing
Thanks for having me,
as far as
Michael.
revenue-wide and growth in the fourth quarter of 2013.
Sure. We continue to grow from a top line sales standpoint, just to new unit growth, and then also this year for 2013, or our same store sales are positive for the year as a system. So that's a good thing. And we've added about 12 new units this year in terms of new growth. So 2013 was a lot better for us
So you
than
said you
2012,
there
and
are
I think
12
the
new
fourth quarter
stores have been opened in 2013.
we predict the same trends for
So
fourth
that
quarter
brought
of
you
2013 as well.
from 103 to 115.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. We'll
Um,
actually we'll
so
have
what's the
a
revenue?
couple of units
What's
are
your
under construction that'll
projected
open
revenue
before
for
year end. So
2013
that'll
by
get
the
us
end of
to the that'll get us to that mark. So. Um, we typically don't predict revenue from that standpoint. Our average unit volume per store is 1.5 million. So depending on when those new stores open, but we
Gotcha.
finished last year,
Back in
right around 100
2012,
close to
I
150
watched some of
million in
your
revenue.
interview
So we'll
with other channel, and you said
we obviously will surpass that
there
this
are
year.
some
So.
international expansion plan. How how were they doing?
Yeah, yeah, we'll have our first international unit open in Guatemala. We actually those stores will actually open next year. Actually, one slotted for first quarter
Um,
if all
let's
goes well
help the
with
audience go back
permitting and entitlements in Guatemala.
a
But
little bit
we'll have
when
our
you
first store in
started the pool
Guatemala.
hall
So.
at the game room. I know that you guys talk about the stories a little bit, but can you quickly tell the audience what were some of the hurdles that you guys encounter uh, with your first business?
Sure, sure. But yeah, so back in the back in the late '90s, as you mentioned, we were in college and decided to own our own business, and the pool. We were young, so we enjoyed frequenting pool halls. But the issue was there was a gap for folks that were under 21 but over 18 to get into a pool hall because most pool halls at the time had bars. So we thought there was a gap, and that's how we kind of got into the business. But long story short, I mean, the initial hurdles were just garnering respect from landlords, garnering respect from vendors. Just you're young, you're people don't think of you as a mature businessman, and so those are some of the initial hurdles, and then just financial metrics. Just trying to figure out the financial model and how to make it profitable and things like that. So the good news was that we worked together every day. I was working with my best friends. I still do today. So it was just a challenge that we overcame, and we had a lot of energy back then. I guess we still do, but a lot more back then because we were able to keep a full time job and put ourselves through school, full time school, and have. We started with the pool hall, then we ended up, opening up a game room as
I'm
well. So
curious, because back
it
then, now,
two
if I
businesses,
were
and
you
and
having
while going to
a
school and working
full-time
was
job
a fun time in our
and
lives, and a
full-time
lot of experience we got out of
college,
it. So
why didn't you guys quit when you have so much hurdle at the beginnings? I know that you first hurdle is the money, the second hurdle is the finding the space, and then you guys fail at when you guys went to the Plano City Council to have the permit. Why didn't you quit?
oh yeah, so no, I mean we thought we had a good idea, and yeah, the city council denied us. Once we got a landlord to give us a location, then we were able to find the money. Then actually it was a planning and zoning in Plano
Right.
declined us 4-3. We appealed that, and so then we went in front of the city council. City council denied us 7-0, and so we could have just packed up our bags at that point and just continued with what we were doing. But we're persistent, and we ended up finding a pool hall that we part of our due diligence. We were looking at this particular pool hall in Garland, and we ended up buying that pool hall. So our first pool hall, we didn't start from scratch; we bought it, and so that was Garland. So we didn't have to, we didn't get to open the one in Plano, but we bought one in Garland, an existing business. So um, and it was just a fluke thing because that was one of the pool halls that we had visited as part of our due diligence to come up with our pool hall in Plano. And the lady in Garland was her husband got a got a new job, was relocating, and she needed
So you
a
guys keep
business.
pounding
So,
and
anyways,
pounding and never
it was
quit
a good thing that
just
worked
because
out
of so
for
many
us.
hurdles.
But it was also a little bit of luck, that an opportunity came available. So, exactly. Yeah, no, like I said, a little bit of luck. We had a the lady happened to be selling right at like a few. I think it was we got declined in November, and I believe in January 1st, New Year's Day, I was flipping through the newspaper,
It's awesome.
and
What was the
I saw
role
a
of your
pool hall for
family
sale in
to the
Garland. I'm
success
like,
in your first business?
and so I called the number, and it happened to be one that we knew, and that's what kind of started it all. So. You know, I actually my parents lived in New Jersey, so my mom and dad didn't even know that I was about to buy a business. that I used student loan money to do it. But I lived at the time. I was yeah, initially when I moved down to Texas in '95. I was actually living with my sister and my brother-in-law, and so I did tell them, and I had moved out by that time. But long story short, they were supportive of it. That yeah, go ahead and try, and we were doing it as a group, so the exposure from that standpoint wasn't a lot. It was a good learning opportunity. So they know the support from family's always been there from day one, not just from that initial business, from
Perfect.
everything we've ever done. So
Let's
we
fast
couldn't
forward
do it without
uh, uh,
that
one
back
bit. Then you said in
infrastructure of
'99
support
you guys ran into
and
the
love that we get
concept
from our families and
restaurant
friends.
called
So
Genghis Grill, and I guess several years later you guys opened your first restaurant. One thing I find intriguing is that in the first 18 months and on the day of opening, you guys have zero customers. I'd like to talk more about that. Well, back so how did you guys finance the deal to open your first restaurant when you have the pool business and the game room business?
Sure. Yeah, so we had by that time, through the late '90s, we had already, we had the pool hall, we had the game room, but we were all done with college. We kept the two businesses. We all went on to our respective careers. So we ran the two businesses on evenings, weekends. We hired management during the days, and we all had day jobs. And in late in '99. Some of us were, like I said, just finishing up college or done with college. But '99, we left a comment card saying, "If you guys ever franchise, give us a call." We were just a customer of Genghis Grill, and they had just opened up their second restaurant in Addison, Texas. And so we just left a comment card saying, "If you guys ever franchise, give us a call." And in 2001, they called us and said, "Hey, we just opened up store number three. Would you like to franchise?" And we were one of the original franchisees to sign on, and we sold the, kind of how we financed the first business, the first restaurant was we sold the pool hall game room, took whatever proceeds from that, and then we got at that time, so we had a little bit of a track record with the two businesses, so we were able to get an SBA loan, which was difficult, but we got one. And and so the equity and that, and we all put in a little bit of money of minor savings that we had. So, and that's how we were able to come up, with the funding for the first restaurant that we ended up opening in 2002, which was, I think what you're mentioning there was the
That's
first Tuesday we opened up
that's
for
scary, huh?
business, for dinner, from 4 o'clock to 10 o'clock. We didn't have a single customer walk in the door. So that, that was real scary. And then it took about 18 months to really get it to break even, and get to a break even level. So those first 18 months of the restaurant
How
business were
much did you
very
pay for your first
very
restaurant back in
difficult and
2002
challenging
and
for us. And
2019?
we got through it because we stuck together, and fought through it all basically. So we opened it for about 375,000. I think was the number, and it's pretty close. It might have been 373, but basically that was the total startup, et cetera. We had exceeded budget. We had never constructed something of that size, from so the construction, et cetera. But it cost about 375. I think our budget was about 350.
So do
So
you
we had
seek
gone
any
over on
investor,
budget,
outside investor at that
which
time
was tough
to
to
bridge the
deal with
gap?
as well initially when the capital sources were real tight. So um, no, not on that first one. We actually just went and borrowed some money from one of the partners' uncles. Gave us a interest loan as a secondary loan to cover the overages,
Got you.
and then
So
we
on the
paid.
first
We were able to pay him
Tuesday
back a
when you
few years
opened with
later, so
zero
that was good
customers,
with the
it
interest.
was
So
really a scary
um,
experience
so,
from
but yeah, not
when
on
you
that
have a
first one. The
successful
first one we
pool
didn't
business
have any
going on and
investors. So
successful ballroom, game business going on, and now you got a new business, new loan, new challenge. What did you try and what worked and what didn't work?
sure. We really started, we were in marketing blitz mode right away. We started guerrilla marketing, started printing flyers and, trying to get the word out about who we were, what the concept was, try to get the flyers out to the local neighborhoods and local churches and local, all the local businesses started setting up discounts with the hotels. And I mean, you name it, we tried it. And just because we knew we needed volume. So our lunch business was pretty solid very quickly. It got to a point where, because it was a very heavy lunch area, where the difficulty was the evenings and weekend business, which almost was non-existent, and a lot of it had to do with the just sheer location of it. Our due diligence on the demographics, et cetera, probably weren't as good as we thought. We relied on the movie theater that was there, and we relied on some of the other things that was going on. But that was our biggest challenge. The lunch business got stabilized and was strong for us, but we still had to fill the gap for weekends and dinner business throughout the weekdays. So that's where we focused. We did a lot of marketing, did a lot of tasting of the food. We would take food out to folks to for them to try and invite people in, and invite human resources admin managers in to come and check out the food and then come back with their teams. So, we just anything you can think of, we tried. One time there was a nonprofit organization that used to have Bengal tigers. um, they used to bring Bengal tigers out, so we would do like a petting zoo with Bengal tigers out front. So it was we would bring animals outside, and then if you donated to the Bengal tigers, you'd get a 10% off. If you come inside our restaurant. So anything to do, and we did that for the weekends to get kids out there, and that's how we just very tried a lot of ideas. Most of them probably didn't work, but a lot of them over time did. And it wasn't maybe even one singular idea that helped us. It was a cumulative,
So
a
if
little
I know,
bit
if
at a
if you
time.
look back and if you
Just
can
doing
summarize, what are the
everything,
top three
all of
things that
that,
worked for you back
the
then,
cumulative approach of
based
that
on what you
probably
know
is
now?
what helped us over time. I think it's simple at the end of the day. I mean, the customer service. So we were running the restaurants. I mean, one of the partners would be there during the day, partners would be there at night, one of the partners would be there during the weekend, day and night. So we all worked the restaurants ourselves. And the customer service levels and the cleanliness levels at the restaurants were top notch. We always paid attention to food quality. So those are the things that still we strive to do even in our 110 restaurants on the Genghis Grill side. So it's it's a those are and it's not those are things that have to be done every day, but we were in the restaurants, we had full control over it, and we understood what the
So
guests
you said three
needed.
things. Number
And
one is top-notch
over time
customer
that built
service,
repeat business,
cleanliness,
and they
and
came
also the
back and came
food
back and came
quality.
back and spread the word, and
Perfect.
that's how we were able to build a business in that first restaurant. So yeah. Correct. Yeah. I mean, I would say those are the basic things, at least for us in the restaurant business. But it's so hard, and we don't execute at that level as we probably did at that first restaurant today in all 110 restaurants. And I wish we did, but
So
that's the
back then,
challenge as you
you said
grow is how
what
do you scale that?
what
But
method that you try and
we
didn't
did it
work
by
and
just
cost you lots of money.
grassroots, basics of running a restaurant. So. Um, I don't know if there's any one thing that
Okay.
cost us dearly. We would sometimes make bad decisions on people we hired, maybe some management that we would bring in that servers that we would bring in that potentially would lead to a theft or money going out the back door or money going out the front door. So obviously those would be considered financial losses. But did any one particular
Right.
situation stick out over another? No. I mean, we you know we were able to see through those things pretty easily because we were there. I mean, we were always there, so it'd be very hard. It might happen, but within a few weeks, a month, we'd figure it out. So, but there was really no one move we made that cost us dearly. I mean, it was, I would say the fact that we probably should have done a better job at due diligence on the location. We should have done a better job on the demographic studies and things like that up front. Um,
Gotcha.
and
So,
that we probably wouldn't have ended up in
did
that
your experience
situation.
from the
So,
pool hall and the
um,
game room
that
visit help?
we would have had better
And what
sales
did
if
you
we had
apply from the
positioned the
previous
location a little
business
bit better.
to
So,
your first restaurant?
Yeah, I mean, of course, we learned how to be, um, supervisors in that sense. So none of us had ever been in a supervisory role, being young. So having a couple of businesses and working through that and working through the HR piece, we learned how to manage people. And that's an everyday thing. I'm still learning. We have 5,500 employees across all of our brands now and 275 restaurants that we're in charge of. Uh, and we have, so we're still learning how to manage folks,
So
but obviously having that
during the
experience of
first
having
18
those,
months,
two humble
how
businesses
much
in the
did you
beginning
guys take home every
certainly
month
helped
from the
us,
business?
on our first restaurant.
Zero, nada.
Nothing, zero. No, nada. We didn't get paid. We didn't have salary. We didn't have profits. It was, in fact, one of the partners, Ron, we all had a role in the restaurant. I was the assistant manager. Nick, our COO now, was our GM, and
Wow.
Ron was a server. Chet was a grill master. Ron, when he would come in as a server on the weekends, he would take his tip money and put it back in the business to pay bills. So, he'd look like a server, even though he was part owner. He'd just work as a server, and any tip proceeds that he got, we would put that back in the business to pay the bills. So, no, there was no proceeds. In fact, I don't think even though the business was breaking even, or about 18 months later, we didn't
Okay,
take
help me
anything
out and
home
help the audience
till
out
at
here.
least
So
three
how did you
years
guys
later, I
maintain
believe.
the
So,
level of
two and a half
compared to
years, something like that, is
patience,
when we
consistency
finally got
during a
some money
long
from that
period of
store.
what,
So.
18 months? And you said now you said 3 years without pay from the business? Right.
Yeah, I mean, luckily we kept our day jobs, right? So otherwise our wives would have not liked that, not. So luckily we were able to pay our bills and support our households from that standpoint, and all of our wives worked, and so there was no pressure that I had to take money out of the business to pay my light bill at home. So, we kept our day jobs or regular jobs, whatever you want to say. So everybody had a role, and we did it because we were together. Once again, that's been our mantra. I mean, we together we can accomplish anything, and we have shown that. So, uh, you know, we didn't go about. It wasn't just me. It wasn't just Al. It was all the partners and coming together and fighting through those initial tough times. Um, so that's it. I mean, it's nothing. There's no magic
Can you share
pill.
with the
There's no
audience some
silver
of the
bullet.
marketing
It's just
tactics that
us
you
working together and
use
and
when
staying together.
being as
That
a
was that
franchisee?
we were able to get through these
Because I
those
know
tough
that
times.
majority, lots of people, they want to get into the restaurant business, and apparently that customers and marketing they always the biggest challenge. So hopefully with your experience, you can help them out with several of the action tips that they can apply, use immediately, and get results.
Sure. I mean, we we the restaurant business is the riskiest business in the world. So I'd advise your audience to be careful if they do want to get in the restaurant business. It's just a tough business in general, right? It's a low margin business. You have to. There's a ton of human capital that's needed, and it's so that's number one. It is the riskiest business. I think 3 out of 10 restaurants make it, seven fail. And I think the stats, that's after year one, and then the stats get even worse than that after year two. So it's a risky business, but it's also a very rewarding business if done right. And from a marketing standpoint, um, you know, whatever you do, be known for something. Own something as far as whether it be the way you cook your food, whether it be your food quality, whether it be your customer service, the way you decorate your desserts. own something and be unique and have a niche. Um, and then from that point on, you can market that. So, we believe Genghis, we were originally a franchisee and then ended up buying the brand and now the franchisor. Our focus is always on trying to be unique, trying to do something that others aren't doing, that people remember you by, people remember the brand by, then advertising doesn't need to kick in because it's just word of mouth, because people appreciate uniqueness and that you have something that someone else doesn't. So I would say always strive to do something a little differently, and that's a hard thing to kind of figure out. But once you know it, and you know no one else is doing it. Very few people are doing it that you can own in your specific trade area or business that you're in today. So regardless if it's the restaurant business or not,
Now let's take
being
one example in your
unique
business. How
and
did you
doing
create a
something that's
uniqueness
niche
element
is
and
always going to
factor
be
at, at
position
your
you
first
well
restaurant?
from a marketing and branding and advertising standpoint. I mean, the fact that the brand is, we have an open food bar. We're able to create your own meal. So customization 13 years ago, 14, whatever, 12 years ago, that was, that was a new thing. So, and then the ability to control your own destiny, going through a food bar, and be able to control your destiny of what you put in your food, in your meal, and ultimately goes in your stomach. So the full customization and the fact that you can control your destiny and the sheer freshness, impact of what we do from a food quality standpoint. We're very transparent in how we present the food and how we cook the food. Not many restaurants can claim that. So the uniqueness was inherent in the brand. It's not something we came up with. It was something the founder came up with. But we've embraced
Gotcha.
that and now
You
taken that
mentioned
to the next
earlier that
level. But
when you first
at the
started
same time, the
with your
brand
first
itself was
restaurant,
pretty
there are
unique,
several of the HR issues such as
from that
theft
standpoint.
and mismanagement and mishire of the servers. Based on what you know now, what are some of the actionable tips as far as the HR concerned for people wanting to open their first business or the first restaurant?
Sure, I would say, if you're going to hire some management folks, you definitely want to do background checks. Drug testing is big. We didn't used to do that. We do that now. We didn't used to do background checks on management. We do that now. We also do personality assessments, even for servers, or any hourly staff that we hire. So we have a full, they go through uh, a personality test. They go through a cognitive test where they're trying, to make sure they can do quick math and they can read properly and convey things. So, those testings that we do that before we even hire them. So we have testing scores based on profile, and that profile ties back to our culture of the type of people we're looking to hire, that are hospitality folks that are looking to serve, our guests. And so, we look at those scores before they're even hired. So all that stuff's done in advance, and then we take the time. If all of that goes well, then we take the time to go through the interview process and bring them in, and if they do come in, then they go through our training process, which they get tested again, on our Genghis Grill, you know, training manuals, etc. So it's a multiple prong approach now. Is it foolproof? No, by all means. Is it better than what we used to do? Yes. So, um, but that's certainly some of the things we do now, that, number
How
one,
does that
technologies
how does
enabled
that
us to do,
approach, the
but
innovative
also,
approach of multiple
the
multiple
fact that
pronged
we're
approach
able
of
to
personality
gauge
tests
folks
and things
even
like
before
that
we hire them is
translate
an important thing.
to the success of the in the personnel area of your business?
Sure. I mean, I think it's a huge, huge factor. I mentioned earlier, human capital is a big thing, and having the right folks on your teams at the restaurant, down from our frontline folks that they talk to our guests every day. They interact and engage with our guests every day. So if that type of thing is the most important thing we do. So ultimately you have to hire the right folks, and so it 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 translates to those. The more good decisions you make there is what ultimately will translate into success. So it's a big
Let's
factor
say
of what we
how
do. I mean, without it,
what was the
without those
turnover
folks
rate
and hiring folks
before you
right,
apply and
it would be devastating
after
to our
you
business,
apply
I think, long term. So.
the new solution?
You know, yeah. So on an hourly staff, I would say we've, first of all, in the restaurant business, turnover is high in general for hourly staff. But I think we know we've dropped our turnover from an hourly standpoint down by about 30 or 40% of where we were. It's not exactly where we want to be, but we've seen some dramatic improvements on hiring right. And the nature of it is we're hiring people. Sometimes it's their first job. A lot of them are maybe going to go off from high school to college, so they move away. But the beauty of that is that's a good thing. We don't mind losing people for those reasons, and then a lot of times, they're done with they're done with college. They were working as a server through college, and they're finally graduated, and they go on to their whatever degree that they got in. So that's a good thing, and that's the turnover we don't mind having. Some of those folks come back and work for us part time. Some of them come back and work, during the holidays, or don't come back during the summer. So um, the turnover rate from that standpoint,
Perfect.
though,
Um,
doing profile
One
assessments
other
and
thing I'm really curious is
hiring
that
right
you
from
said
day
the first 18
one
months you got no
helps with
payroll.
turnover. We
Uh,
have metrics to
what
show
was some
that
of the
and prove that.
mindset
So.
that you can help people because when they got no customers or got no money take home, I'm scared. I mean, I have mouth to feed at home. How do you know your mindset at that time in order to some of the thing that you can help my audience kind of strengthening their mindset to accept that challenge, accept that thing that have no money.
Yeah, you have no choice. So that's number one. I mean, you got a personal guarantee on the lease. You have a personal guarantee on the loan. Your partners are in with you. You can't let everybody down, right? So you don't have a choice sometimes, and so the perseverance is it's tough. It's not easy. It was hard times, and I'm not sitting here telling you, oh, we got through it, no problem. It was we second guessed ourselves a lot. We had a lot of crying sessions, and to see how the heck we're going to get out of this mess, and it just wasn't easy. It tested our personal relationships from partnership standpoint. It tested our family situations with our wives. So but you have to power through it. You have to believe in yourself ultimately, and each individual that's maybe your partners, et cetera, have to believe in themselves, and knowing that together you can accomplish it. And at that time, maybe we didn't know that we could get through it, but that's where you really test the character of folks is during tough times, and
What are some of
we overcame it
the
because
limiting
the
beliefs
character
that
of the folks
you
that
have
I'm
to get
part,
rid of
that I'm
in order
partners
to
with was
success in this
was
business?
top notch. It just doesn't get any better. You have to get out of your comfort zone. Um, just being an entrepreneur in general, you can't. You have to take risks. I know that's kind of a cliche, but you have to. You have to get out of your comfort zone. There is no safety blanket. You have to be really willing to start over. So you go full steam ahead. You cannot worry about failure. Failure should not be an option. And if you did your best, you put in 110%, not even 100%, but 110%, and then you failed, you got to be willing to start over, and that shouldn't be what you should be worried about, right? So you have a job today and you work day to day at a company and you get a paycheck, and that's a steady paycheck, and you work hard for that paycheck. That's a good thing, but to be an entrepreneur, it takes a special set of folks to do it, and a different set of mindset. And so, be able to take that risk and be able to be willing to hit the reset button and start over. And if you're willing to do that, then you're always going to look forward and up and ahead. And I would say that's the key. It's a special breed of folks. It's not for everybody. Some people like that steady paycheck and don't want the fear. So I would say, ask yourself, are
Well,
you are
speaking
you
of that,
willing to hit
with
the
the reset
reset button
button, so what did
anytime?
you guys have to
And if
believe
you
in
are,
to
then
overcome
then
to
you have no fear. You work ahead towards trying to
besides
get
taking risk and
what you're trying to do as an entrepreneur.
hitting the reset button any times?
No, no, yeah. I mean, we believe that at the end of the day, what's worse? What's the worst case that's going to happen? We're going to have to close the business down. You might have to file for bankruptcy. You have to go through that, that realization. So, but hitting that reset button is not necessarily okay. I'll go back into business and just do it again, because now your opportunities would probably diminish as a result of that. So but you hitting the reset button means, hey, are you confident in yourself to go and get another job and go back to what you were doing and collect a paycheck? That's your downside, right? So your downside is go get a job, and pay your bills. So that's the downside. So, and that's the reset button. So it's not really, there's no belief in that. It's built back once again, just self belief and the fact that you can make it work. You can make this work. Um, Fundamentally, why can't it work? Let's figure out a way. And it might not be exactly the way you envisioned it, but you got to be willing to pull an audible and make a change and change and change until you figure it out or get it to a point where it makes sense. It starts to work a little bit. And it might not be a great success. That first store is still not our best store. And by far, it's probably still one of our lowest volume stores. But it makes a little bit of money now, So, and it has, for 10 years.
Gotcha.
So, I
So,
mean, that's the
what did
that's the
you help other
that's the thing,
franchisees
is that was just
at
now
that
one
time so
stepping
that
stone for us to
it
get to the next
it
level,
it led
but you
you
got to
to the
overcome it. So.
opportunity to take over uh, the franchisor?
Yeah, during that time, the brand was also struggling, and so other franchisees would call us and ask us how we were doing things, and about our takeout menu or our. We developed our own, our movie theater. We had a movie theater next door, so we did a marketing slide for the movie theater. We did a different drink special, et cetera, things like that. So other franchisees would call us. We'd certainly help, because we were trying to figure it out ourselves. So we were hoping that it would be, they would reciprocate information back to us to see what they were doing, and maybe we can learn from whatever they were doing. So, so at the end of the day, I mean, that's all it was. It was we were helping franchisees to, out of greed to learn from them too, to see if they had anything else. And then when we became a franchisor, um, that same philosophy, because we were a franchisee and that now became a franchisor, who also operated our restaurants. We operated restaurants, so the franchisees respected the fact that we ran our own restaurants, and we figured out how to, figure out ways to make things work. And so as we became franchisor, not initially, but it took time for them to believe that we could do right by them, and that's how we kind of started. Is they started to believe, and they saw the things we were doing to the brand and making some
What
changes, and
what did you
that
guys do
ultimately
well at
led
that
to
time so that other
them giving
franchisees
us
seek
confidence
help from you?
to believe in the ideas for them to implement in their stores. So, um, we embraced change. I think pretty well. We implemented a lot of changes that probably needed to happen, and maybe other franchisees knew that needed to happen, but particularly didn't want to proceed with those changes. And but we did them. We used to implement the changes ourselves first, test them in our stores first, and then say, hey, look, here's what worked, here's what we did, and I think it'll work for you too. So kind of leading by example. So I can give you a lot of specific things we did, but that's specific to restaurant business. But at the end of the day, it was embracing change was the big thing, and then testing those changes,
I
proving
just
those
want
changes out, and then showing
to
those
categorize a little bit. So
franchisees that
what
here you
areas of
go,
help do they need a
here's the
lot with other
blueprint of this
franchisees? What
particular
need help a
initiative,
lot?
and here's why we think
Marketing,
you should do it.
operation, cash flow, or what was that?
Yeah, no, I mean back then, back then the those what where they needed help was different than probably what it is today. Everybody still needs help, so it's not, and not just franchisees, but even our corporate stores. So it's specific, but even back then it was pretty specific. I mean, some folks were really good at marketing. Some folks were really good at the four walls and advertising and trying to raise average ticket and sell more to fans that came in the door. So it was always the challenges is franchisee and personality specific, sometimes even market specific. Just it's their level of expertise or what they're comfortable doing, and so but to open their eyes up to other initiatives and ideas. So I would say getting sales in the door and coming up with ideas to continue to get sales in the door still remains a challenge for us in all of our restaurants. What's the next? There was no such thing as social media back then, right? I mean, we didn't have the medium of advertising that we do today. So, um, and to the ability to reach people, that the power of that today that we had, we didn't have that power. So, traditional media is different than it is now than it was back then. So, but the challenge always will remain is, the biggest challenge is always how do we get more customers in our doors, how do we get more people to try us and keep
Even
them
right
and
now,
retain
even
them,
that
and
right now, you have a
those are
level where you
challenges
have
that will
over
always be there.
100 stores. The
And we're
challenge is still there.
all trying to figure that out and continue to fight. It's not just one answer. So yeah, of course, yeah. I mean, it's still a young brand, and it's some stores that might have been there for 5 years have a different challenge than stores that are brand new. So stores that are 5 years old are looking for new fans and new trial, and folks that are that have just opened up are just trying to get awareness out to say, hey, we're here, come and try us out, right? So it's a different set of challenges, but trying to build top line sales and getting more people to come in
So
our
how did your game
restaurants,
plan
and
change
it
when
always
you
should be a
guys
challenge for any
decide
restaurant.
to
You
get
always
into
want
the
to get more
franchise or
people in the door, right? So you
position,
never want to be complacent there. So
marketing and personnel and operation?
we started with just what we felt the brand needed. We started with the logo and the brand side of it first, just to make sure that we actually slightly changed the name at the time. Our tagline, anyways, we all the marketing collateral, we kind of try to get it unified a little bit, to make sure that everybody wasn't doing different things. And then from a vendor standpoint, we try to um, laterally go after vendors or unilaterally, either way. We what we tried to do was make sure we were all using the goal to use one vendor for everything, one vendor for specific things, but not having 10 different vendors for that one specific thing. So every franchisee was doing something different, and we try to reel all that back in, and to gain buying power. And so those are a couple of things we did initially right away. And then we increased food quality. We really looked at our food bar and try to elevate the quality, because we wanted to play on the quality factor more than anything else. And so we changed out some of the food, and those few changes. I mean, changing the logo slightly, um, teaming up with vendors to unify buying power and to get franchisees off of whatever they were doing and change vendors, and then change the product quality and increase the product quality to make an investment in that. Those are some of the three big
Now,
things right
I'm
away we had
curious
to
about, you
do,
said when you
to
have to
get the
test
brand going in the right direction. That
factories
was back in
and open store
2004,
in different
so that
areas
was
of
9 years
Dallas with
ago.
different demographics, properties, and I wonder, describe your testing process so that other entrepreneurs can learn from your process and apply in the idea or in the operation or in the sales. I mean, I think the your process is really awesome to learn from.
Yeah, well, we took financial risks to go and try to put restaurants in markets and areas that I wouldn't first tell a franchisee to go do. Our theory and philosophy has always been, we got to be willing to test it ourselves, and do it ourselves before we tell a franchisee, hey, you need to try this or you need to take a risk on this. And so, we looked at different demographics, different footprints of restaurants, urban areas, non-urban areas, secondary markets, the two-story spaces, lifestyle centers and malls. Inside of malls, we took some risks in Dallas that probably other franchisors wouldn't do, but we took those risks for a very calculated reason. Also, number one, we wanted those restaurants to do well, so it wasn't just like we were trying everything. It was, we believed that the restaurants could do well, and then secondly, we'd love to have a case study to prove out to our franchisees, hey, look, this does work in a secondary trade area. Hey, this does work in a urban setting. This does work inside of a mall. This does work in a lifestyle center. And if it does work, and we had those situations too. Not every one of them worked. So, we can truly try to figure it out, but we don't tell them they need to do it, right? So, we
What
tell
are the
them, hey, here's
criteria
why
for you to
we think you
pick,
shouldn't do this right
pick
now,
this
because we
area or
haven't figured out the
demography
one we already have.
rather than
And so
other? I
franchisees
mean,
seem to
and how
respect
can
that. So,
you, I guess, strategically choose the demography in order to establish the case study to sell to other franchisees?
it wasn't a strategy behind it. It was being more entrepreneurial than anything else. But also we look at trade areas, we look at parking, we look at visibility, we look at all those things, and rate those on our site criteria checklist. Back in the day, it was a little bit more informal. Now it's a formal process, but we would certainly make sure that those, as many boxes that were checked as possible. But once again, not a lot of strategy behind it. Continue to be very entrepreneurial about certain things. We would negotiate good deals with landlords, and we would look at benchmarking at like a average unit volume. We wouldn't think that we were going to do a lot out of it. We certainly wouldn't think we'd do really bad out of it. So that was the mindset. So we ultimately that process has gotten a lot more sophisticated and formal, but we still look at some of the basic things. You look at the demographics, you look at the trade area, you look at parking counts, you look at uh, you know cars per day on the street, visibility, patio, no patio, things like that, co-tenancy. From a real estate standpoint, you look at a lot of those things. We always used to look at them, but at the same time, when we took some of those risks, we also not every box was checked because we wanted to see where
Gotcha.
could it work without could it work with parking in the back, could it work with parking in a garage, could it work with things like
Mm.
that. We would take some risks on. So and now we don't
So you have the
we
nice
don't take
blueprint
those
right now
risks
and to
now because
apply
we
to
know
whatever
certain things work, certain
location you
things
wanted.
didn't work. So now we have a better model for picking real estate. So exactly right. I mean, there's just a site
How do you
criteria
define
now, and
success and what has to
now we
happen for
make
you to
sure
feel
those
successful?
those things are all checked before we approve a site and do a location. Um, it's not about the numbers. It's about our motto here is just taking a team with you. We're trying to fill the boat with more folks that believe, and so now for us, success is obviously we have to make money for any of it to matter, but ultimately, we are trying to fill the boat with folks that believe and believe in the vision and the go forward way, that believe in the way we do things and the team environment. We always say one team, one dream here. Um, so success for us is that doing things together and then building a team behind us that is helping us drive the boat. We're trying to make the boat bigger so we all grow together. We like to say we don't like putting a roof on anybody's head, and what that means is we don't want to cap anybody's growth, and so we want everybody to keep growing. That really is now continues to drive us. But in order for us to do all of that, you got to make money at what you do.
Well, well,
So obviously
if
that's still the
if you could
motivating
go back to
factor.
15
But
years
if
when
you
you
can do
were,
that
I
from a
know,
financial
19 or
standpoint,
20
then you can
and
continue
started your
filling the
business,
boat
what
and giving
advice
people
would you give
opportunities to grow, grow,
to
grow. So
yourself? Uh,
yeah, I'm 35 now, and so I guess in you know 20 years ago I was 15 or whatever. But no, you know, hard work is a big thing. Everybody says it, everybody uses it, but man, it's a so hard for people to understand that you gotta work hard in anything you do. It doesn't have to be in business. It doesn't have to be, it could be in your day to day jobs, because if you do work hard, I assure you somebody will notice. And at your company, at what you do, and it certainly pays off to be, when you own your own business or be an entrepreneur. You just have to outwork the next guy. You have to really have to outwork the next guy. And if you're not willing to outwork the next guy, then it's just not. You're probably not going to have the success that maybe the next guy might, because you don't have to have a degree from Harvard to work hard. It's and I almost take I would almost take almost every time I take hard work over Harvard. Uh, every time. So that's just it's a simple thing, but people forget it. That's
I like
what's
what you
gotten us
said.
here.
Outwork the
We're
next guy.
certainly not the smartest people around, but
Uh,
we've stayed together,
okay.
and
A
the hard
question I have
work
for
piece
you.
is a big part of who we
How
are.
do
So
how do you want to be remembered?
yeah. You know, the legacy
All
piece.
right,
You know,
I'll
I don't
follow up
know.
with
We're
you
too young to
with that
be.
one.
We're too young to be thinking about that. So
Okay,
I
guys,
would say
Al is
next
very
time you
generous
ask me, I might have a better
of
answer. So
sharing
I
with
just don't
you
have a good
some of
answer for you on that one.
his success and what worked and what didn't work for him. And
Right.
I hope you take some actions. And feel free to let me and Al know about your success as well. So Al, if someone wanted to know more about being a franchisee or want to know more about you, how do they get in touch with you, or how do you find out about that opportunity?
Yeah, just have them go to our website at genghisgrill.com, or they can go to the holding company, the chalakgroup.com, CHALAK group.com. And, there's inquiry forms on there. It shows you about the company, who we are, what we do. So, obviously we're in not just Genghis Grill, but we also have other restaurant holdings. And then we're also
Perfect. So if they
we're
want
in
to,
hotels and
if
real
they
estate as
wanted to
well
ask
now.
you
So,
personal question, can they
they can
email you?
find out more about our group on www.thechalakgroup.com. So, certainly, I think that on that info@chalakgroup.com email, that actually goes to myself and the other partners. So we get a copy of that. So certainly do it off of
Thank you so
that.
much
Not
for giving
necessarily on
us
the
your help
Genghis
today,
one, because
and I
that's a
appreciate that.
more
And I'll
open
let
one,
you
but
know when
the
when the
chalakgroup.com
interview is coming out.
email form actually
And
goes to my email address. So,
thank you. Appreciate your help. Bye bye.
all right, sounds good. Thank you so much. Take care.